Hi everyone. Yeah, today I wanted to start exploring Azure services. So I'll start with the simplest one. I've worked a lot on AWS, but I always wanted to explore Azure services. So today I'm going to make an attempt at it. So I'll start with the function app. So it is slightly different than in AWS. In AWS, you directly create the Lambda function, but here you create the function app and then you create functions within the function app. So let's get started. So I'll create a function app here, and no function apps to display. So create, and so you select the hosting plan. So I'll select the consumption plan. So it is for learning beginners. So I'll select that. And then resource group. So I'll just use one of the existing resource group that I had been creating. So it's just resource group groups all the resources as the name suggests. And so I'll name the function as this is the function app. So function app ns01 test. So within this function app, all the functions will reside. Runtime stack we will use as Python, and we'll use the latest version, which is 3.12. And region we'll pick Central US. And let's go to next. Now it will ask you something like storage account. So storage account is also again not like AWS where you can create S3 buckets, you can create queues, things like that. All of those storage services, they fall under storage account. So we'll look at those as well. So storage account. So what we can do is we can uh, use existing one. So this is a storage account, and we'll look at what that is. So it is ending with 8F6B. So that is also a storage account that we'll use. Everything else will leave to default. This one also will leave it default and go to monitoring. So monitoring, there is a thing called insight. So we'll leave that on, and that is also another, I guess, application insight grouping. So we'll use the one that I had created earlier, and then that's it. And then we'll leave continuous deployment. We'll just work through the portal or console as they call it, and I think I will just leave. Maybe we'll check basic authentication to enable, and then we'll go to next step, and we'll just leave this as defaults. And then tags, we'll ignore the tags for now, and then we'll review and create. So in AWS, the functions get created as soon as you hit create, but in Azure, it goes through steps of deployment, things like that. But this is only the shell. This is the function app that we are creating, and within that, then we'll create the function itself. But it goes through all these deployment steps, which are not seen in AWS. So we'll wait for this to get completed. All right, so now the deployment is complete, and now we can go to the resources things in here. Not sure, it might be important, but not for now. So let's go to the resource. And so this is our function app. Now within this, we'll create functions. Now there are multiple ways you can create functions. What will to keep things simple, we'll create in Azure portal. So let's click on create function, and then it provides templates just like what we had in AWS. So we'll create using HTTP trigger. There are multiple options here. Queue, Cosmos is there, DynamoDB, Event Hub, things like that. Then queue. All right. So let's first try simplistic HTTP trigger, and then go to next. Create new app, and we'll just leave the name as is, just to speed things up. And so it will create a function with some dummy code in there, and it also, so this is slightly nicer than what I guess we had with AWS. So you have the logging shown here for when you run through code plus test, and then there is option of you can look at logs, and then you can look at matrix, things like. So there are other options available just like AWS, but we'll use code plus test um, to test our function. So at high level, what the function does is it is looking for a parameter named name, and if there is no name, then it will just like it will create a variable. But if the name is passed, then what it will do is it will return this, and if there is an error, then it will, or if it is triggered but there is no name queried, um, then it will what you call output this response. So, but let's add some more logging so that we can see. Uh, okay, so we have that. So we are looking for that, and so it will always print this, and then depending on what is passed, it will print this, and then the output will, and then the response or the output of the function will be something like this. So let's save this. Let's pull up the logs, and then let's go to code plus test. Okay, we're already in code plus test. Let's go to test run, and it will allow you to give input. So let's just try without any query parameter, and without query parameter, it will still print this. So let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so it says triggered successfully, but it's not showing. Okay, so there it is. So it still printed this, but it did not print the name or anything because we didn't pass the name. And the output is, this was the output that was written because there was no name. So now let's go back and put in the name here. And you put in the name like that, and then you run it. Okay, so it returns this, and if you look at this, the query string parameter is extracted and printed here. So it's kind of straightforward, kind of slightly different um, than AWS, but not a huge lift to go from AWS to Azure. So the other thing is, let's go to, okay, so let's go back here. And then there is this function URL. So in AWS, you kind of have to create API gateway and then trigger this. But I think all that work is done behind the scenes for us. So we'll just use, say, function key, and let's call it from here. Now, if you call from here, it would return, and it says pass a query string or in the request word. So we need to pass name, and then it will print name. So just say, because it's already passing code, and we say and name equal to. Okay. So there it is. So it returns, and then it prints like this. So this is slightly different. You don't have to create API gateway and all that other instrumentation for it to be able to access through URL. You can potentially use this in a form, and then have Cosmos DB on the other side and kind of create a form that will take the data and put in and input into the form, things like. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this, similar to what you can do with AWS. But this in a nutshell is kind of what you call a quick high level overview of Azure Functions, and that too specifically HTTP trigger. I'm going to explore more, and hopefully I get time to do this and share with you all. But if you have any suggestions, feel free to. I'm in learning mode, so uh, please excuse my mistakes or any of the inefficiencies that I'm doing on building this. But thanks for watching.